The bustling streets of New York City set the stage for an unexpected encounter. Amidst the cacophony of honking taxis and hurried footsteps, Barron Trump, often shielded from public view, comes face to face with a homeless man asking for $1. Like a stone thrown into a still pond, Barron's response creates ripples that extend far beyond this simple interaction. From viral videos to heated debates, from personal transformations to policy discussions, this moment becomes a catalyst for change. What unfolds next is a testament to the power of a single act of kindness, touching thousands of lives in ways no one could have predicted. The sun beat down on the crowded sidewalk, casting long shadows across Fifth Avenue. The cacophony of car horns and chatter filled the air, a symphony of city life. Amidst the sea of faces, one figure moved with a practiced anonymity that belied his famous surname. Barron Trump, tall and lanky, navigated the throng with ease. His eyes, hidden behind dark sunglasses, scanned the crowd reflexively. Years of being in the public eye had taught him to be always aware, always alert. Yet today, something was different. The weight of recent events pressed on his shoulders, making him feel exposed despite his attempts at invisibility. As he passed a bustling coffee shop, a weathered hand reached out, stopping him in his tracks. Barron tensed, his body instinctively recoiling. But as his eyes followed the arm to its owner, he found himself face to face with a man whose lined face told a story of hardship and struggle. "Can you give me $1?" The words hung in the air, heavy with desperation and hope. The man's voice, barely audible above the city's din, carried a tremor that spoke of countless rejections. For a moment, time seemed to stand still. Barron's hand moved towards his pocket, hesitation visible in every movement. The homeless man's eyes widened, a flicker of hope crossing his worn features. Barron didn't just reach for his wallet. Instead, he took off his sunglasses, meeting the man's gaze directly. "Sir," Barron said, his voice soft but steady, "I don't have cash on me, but would you like to get some lunch?" The homeless man blinked, confusion replacing hope on his weathered face. "Lunch?" he repeated, as if the word were foreign to him. Barron nodded, gesturing to a nearby deli. "Yes, if you'd like. We could grab something to eat and talk, maybe?" The older man's eyes searched Barron's face, looking for any sign of mockery or deceit. Finding none, he slowly nodded. Yeah, okay. That'd be, that'd be nice," he said, his voice thick with emotion. As they turned toward the deli, the noise of the street seemed to fade away. The smell of fresh bread and brewing coffee surrounded them, a stark contrast to the grit of the streets outside. As they began to talk, neither of them realized that this chance encounter on Fifth Avenue was about to change both their lives in ways they could never have imagined. What would come of this unlikely meeting between two men from vastly different worlds? And how would it shape the path of a young man struggling to find his place in a world that had always defined him by his family name? The aroma of coffee faded, but a different scent lingered, the faint whiff of hope. As the crowd dispersed, Michael stood rooted to the spot, his weathered hand still outstretched. The young man's kindness had caught him off guard, stirring something deep within him that he thought had long since withered away. Michael. That was his name, though few bothered to ask anymore. The sidewalks of New York had been his home for so long that he sometimes struggled to remember a time when things were different. But now, as he watched Barron Trump's tall figure disappear into the deli, memories flickered at the edges of his consciousness. The city streets, once a symbol of opportunity, now felt like a maze with no exit. Each turn led to another dead end, each alley a reminder of how far he had fallen. The cold concrete beneath him, the constant noise of traffic, the averted gazes of passers-by, all served as daily reminders of his invisibility. For years, Michael had watched the wealthy pass by, their eyes sliding over him as if he were part of the cityscape. He'd seen countless designer shoes hurry past, heard the jingle of coins in expensive pockets. But rarely did anyone stop, and even more rarely did they look him in the eye. This encounter felt different. The young Trump's offer of a meal instead of spare change had caught Michael off guard. It wasn't just the offer itself, but the way Barron had looked at him, not with pity or disgust, but with a simple human kindness that Michael had almost forgotten existed. As night fell and the city's neon signs flickered to life, Michael found himself unable to shake the memory of those few moments. The weight of the sandwich in his hand, the warmth of the coffee cup, the quiet conversation in the deli, it all felt like a dream, but the fullness in his stomach told him it was real. For the first time in years, Michael felt a spark of something he couldn't quite name. Was it hope, determination, or simply the reminder that he was still human, still worthy of kindness and connection? As he settled into his usual spot for the night, a small alcove that offered some protection from the wind, Michael's mind raced. The young Trump's actions had done more than just fill his stomach. They had awakened a part of him that had long been dormant. With renewed purpose, Michael made a decision that would alter the course of his life. Tomorrow he would visit the community center he'd been avoiding for months. He'd heard they offered job training programs, help with housing applications. He'd dismissed it before, convinced it was hopeless. But now the ember of hope that had been ignited refused to be extinguished. As he drifted off to sleep, Michael's last thoughts were of gratitude for the meal and for the reminder that sometimes a single act of kindness can be the catalyst for change. Tomorrow would be different. Tomorrow, he would take the first step towards reclaiming his life. The Trump Tower loomed over Fifth Avenue, its golden facade gleaming in the fading light. Inside, Barron paced his room, the afternoon's events replaying in his mind. He had always been the quiet one, content to stay out of the spotlight. Now his actions had thrust him into the center of public attention. The weight of expectation pressed down on him like a physical burden, growing heavier with each passing moment. It settled on his shoulders like a thick, oppressive blanket, threatening to suffocate him. Barron's fingers twitched, itching to reach for his phone. He resisted, knowing each notification would only add to the pressure. But the urge was too strong. Finally, he grabbed his device, diving into the swirling vortex of social media reactions. Comments flashed by, praise, criticism, speculation. Some lauded his compassion, while others questioned his motives. As he scrolled, the words blurred, and instead he saw Michael's face. The look of surprise, gratitude, and hope when Barron had offered help. Setting the phone down, Barron's mind was made up. He couldn't control others' thoughts, but he could control his actions. Today he'd done something good. With a deep breath, he made his way downstairs, ready to face his parents. He paused at the threshold, gathering courage, aware of the contrast between this private moment and the public scrutiny he now faced. Donald sat in his chair, tie loosened, speaking quietly with Melania. They looked up as Barron entered. "Son," Donald began, "we need to talk about what happened today." Barron squared his shoulders, but was surprised to see pride in his father's eyes. "I saw the videos," Donald continued. "It's all over the news. You've got people talking." Melania took Barron's hand. "We're proud of you, sweetheart. You showed kindness to someone in need. That's not always easy, especially when the world is watching." Barron felt relief wash over him. "I just wanted to help," he whispered. "I didn't think about cameras or what people would say." As they talked, Barron felt warmth spreading through his chest. For once, he didn't feel like he was living in anyone's shadow. He had made a choice, taken action, and opened up a new kind of dialogue within his own family. As the sun dipped below the Manhattan skyline, casting long shadows across the bustling streets, a digital storm was brewing. The encounter between Barron Trump and Michael, the homeless man, had lasted mere minutes, but its echoes were about to reverberate across the nation. In the quiet of Trump Tower, Barron had found unexpected support from his family, but beyond those gilded walls, millions of strangers were forming their own opinions. The first ripples appeared on Twitter. A shaky video, captured by a bystander's smartphone, began to circulate. Within hours, it had amassed over 2 million views. Hashtags like Rush Hour Barron's Care and High Rush Hour Trump Kindness trended, with Hazar Barron's Care alone generating 500,000 tweets in 24 hours. By dawn, the video had spread like wildfire across social media platforms. News anchors dissected the encounter, calling in body language experts to analyze Barron's posture and facial expressions. Was this a genuine act of kindness or a calculated PR move? On Facebook, the video spawned countless reaction videos. Some praised Barron's actions as an example of compassion transcending political divides. Others questioned the motives behind the gesture. Instagram influencers recreated the scene, some using it to discuss homelessness and wealth inequality, while others sought likes and follows. The video became a Rorschach test, with viewers projecting their own beliefs onto the brief interaction. Political pundits on both sides weighed in, each spinning the event to fit their narrative. Conservative commentators praised Barron's upbringing, while liberal voices used it to discuss broader issues of income inequality. Memes and parodies spread across social platforms. YouTube creators scrambled to produce content, some taking to the streets to recreate the scenario, others analyzing the original video frame by frame. In the eye of the storm, Barron and Michael found themselves thrust into unexpected roles. Charitable organizations launched campaigns centered around youth involvement in addressing homelessness. The hashtag number #BeABarron encouraged young people to engage in acts of kindness, generating 100,000 posts in a single day. As the day wore on, the conversation shifted. What had started as a simple interaction had ballooned into a national referendum on empathy, privilege, and social responsibility. Psychologists were interviewed about the impact of such attention on a young person's development. Economists weighed in on the broader implications for addressing poverty in America. In coffee shops and office break rooms across the country, people debated the merits of Barron's actions. Was buying lunch enough? Should he have done more? What would they have done in his situation? The questions were endless, each answer revealing as much about the responder as it did about the situation itself. As the sun rose over New York City, its streets buzzed with heated debates and passionate discussions. The encounter between Barron Trump and a homeless man had ignited a firestorm of opinion, transforming the city into a crucible of ideological conflict. At subway stations and coffee shops, New Yorkers engaged in animated conversations. "It's about time someone from that family showed some compassion," a woman in a business suit declared. Her words were met with mixed reactions, revealing the deep divisions that had taken root. In Washington Square Park, students organized a rally. "This is our chance to show that New York cares," their leader shouted. The energy was palpable, with some stopping to listen, others hurrying past with skeptical expressions. Local politicians responded to the shifting public sentiment. City council meetings now echoed with calls for social reform. "We must seize this moment," Councilwoman Maria Rodriguez declared, her voice filled with conviction. As the debate raged on, the city found itself at a crossroads. The encounter had exposed long-standing tensions about inequality and social responsibility. In the shadows of towering skyscrapers, the stark realities of homelessness became impossible to ignore. Amid the chaos, something remarkable began to unfold. Grassroots organizations reported a surge in volunteer applications. Food banks saw an influx of donations, and community centers were flooded with inquiries about how to help. In Brooklyn, neighbors created a community garden for local shelters. "We can't solve everything," one organizer admitted, "but we can do something right here." On the streets of the Bronx, a former Wall Street executive set up a mobile career counseling service. "I used to walk past people without a second glance," he confessed. "Now I see potential in every face." A bodega owner in Queens started a pay-it-forward system for sandwiches. In Staten Island, teenagers organized a clothing drive for the upcoming winter. These small acts of kindness began to multiply across the boroughs, creating a ripple effect that touched lives in unexpected ways. As these stories of compassion spread, they tempered the heated debates. New Yorkers grappled with complex questions about charity, individual actions, and social responsibility. The city found itself confronting uncomfortable truths about inequality and the true meaning of social responsibility. As weeks turned into months, the initial fervor evolved into sustained action. Community initiatives took root, transforming neighborhoods and challenging long-held assumptions about what was possible when New Yorkers came together. The viral video had not only sparked debate, but had also ignited a desire for action that promised to shape the city's future for years to come. As autumn's crisp air settled over New York City, the ripples from Barron Trump and Michael's chance encounter continued to spread. Michael, once a shadow on bustling sidewalks, now walked with renewed purpose. At the community center, he immersed himself in job training programs, his weathered face showing glimmers of hope as he practiced interview techniques and refined his resume. The process was challenging, but each small victory fueled his determination. In a Manhattan office, Barron Trump hunched over a desk strewn with papers, his eyes holding a determined gleam. Like a butterfly emerging from its cocoon, he was transforming, shedding the protective shell of his family's legacy to forge his own path in philanthropy. He researched homelessness and poverty with an intensity that rivaled his father's real estate pursuits. The Trump name began to evoke new associations of compassion and social responsibility. Across the city, a quiet revolution unfolded. Shelters reported increased donations and volunteers, while New Yorkers paused more often, noticing those they had long ignored. In classrooms throughout the 5 boroughs, teachers incorporated discussions on empathy and social responsibility into their lessons. Students debated the complexities of homelessness with surprising maturity. If Barron Trump can make a difference, so can we, one young student declared with conviction. The movement spread beyond New York's borders, inspiring youth nationwide. A Be a Barron evolved from a trending topic to a call for action, spurring young people to initiate their own community projects, from organizing food drives to volunteering at local shelters. As fall deepened, the city's energy shifted. Subway conversations buzzed with plans for community involvement. A businesswoman shared her mentoring aspirations, while a construction worker described his volunteer work at a soup kitchen. For Barron and Michael, the changes were profound. Barron found his voice, speaking at youth conferences with measured but impactful words. Michael secured a part-time job, rebuilding his life piece by piece, the spark of hope, now a steady flame of determination. New York's skyline remained unchanged, its traffic still congested, but a shift in collective consciousness was palpable. People walked slower, looked closer, and cared more deeply. The viral moment had become a catalyst for self-reflection, challenging individuals to examine their roles in addressing societal issues. As the leaves turned golden and fell, the city found itself changed in ways both tangible and intangible. The crisp autumn air carried a sense of anticipation as Barron Trump and Michael crossed paths on Fifth Avenue. Barron, now walking with newfound confidence, spotted Michael approaching. The once homeless man stood tall, his gait steady and purposeful. As they drew closer, the bustling city seemed to fade into the background. Barron extended his hand, a genuine smile spreading across his face. "Michael, it's good to see you," he said warmly. Michael grasped Barron's hand firmly, his eyes shining with quiet pride. "Mr. Trump," he replied, "I hardly expected to run into you again." The city hummed around them, a living testament to the changes that had swept through its streets. The air seemed charged with possibility, as if New York itself was holding its breath. "How have you been?" Barron asked, genuine interest coloring his tone. Michael's face lit up as he replied, "Things have changed, Mr. Trump. That day, it was more than just a meal. It was hope." He paused before continuing, "I've got a job now, a small apartment. It's not much, but it's a start." Barron nodded thoughtfully. "I'm glad to hear that, Michael. Really, I am." The sincerity in his voice was palpable, a far cry from the hesitant young man who had once struggled to find his words. As they talked, the city seemed to slow its pace. Passers-by cast curious glances at the unlikely pair. Michael spoke of the community programs he'd become involved with, his voice animated as he described his progress. Barron listened intently, asking questions that revealed his growing understanding of homelessness and poverty. Their conversation flowed easily, like a bridge spanning what was once an uncrossable divide. The gap between their worlds had narrowed to a shared path of understanding and mutual respect. As their meeting drew to a close, Barron reached into his pocket and pulled out a business card. "I've been working on some initiatives," he said, handing it to Michael. "If you're interested in getting involved, give me a call. Your perspective would be invaluable." Michael took the card, turning it over in his hands with wonder. "I never thought I'd see the day," he murmured. Then looking up, he added, "Thank you for everything." They parted ways, each heading in opposite directions along Fifth Avenue. As they walked, the city came alive again, the noise and bustle returning in full force. Yet something had shifted, as if the very fabric of New York had been altered by their brief reunion. The story of their first encounter had become part of the city's folklore. But for Barron and Michael, it was more than just a story. It was the beginning of a journey that had transformed not only their lives, but the lives of countless others. The once bustling streets of New York City fell silent as the story of Barron Trump and Michael spread. Their encounter, a simple act of kindness, had grown into a movement that touched hearts across the city and beyond. In the shadows of towering skyscrapers, strangers now paused to acknowledge one another. The weight of their shared humanity hung heavy in the air, a reminder that compassion could bridge even the widest gaps. As night fell over the city that never sleeps, the story of Barron and Michael had become more than just a viral sensation. It had become a catalyst for change, a beacon of hope in a world often divided by wealth and status. Like a pebble cast into still waters, their encounter rippled outward, touching lives in unexpected ways. What unseen impact might our own actions have on the lives of others?